I am using the current version of Affinity by Canva, which is version 3.1. If you haven't downloaded the new update, kindly download it. If you are new to this software, I will leave the link in the description so that you can download the Affinity software. In today's video, as I stated earlier on at the very beginning, we are working on a logo design. So this happens to be the logo icon, and then this happens to be the logo, and here are some artworks I used the logo to create. Before we get to this artwork section, let's focus on the logo icon and the logo design. This is actually a fake brand, but this is where it all began from. The first idea I had is to work out on a logo with the name dog. So I used the pen tool to create this. So when I select the pen tool here in the Vector Studio, you can see I used the pen tool to sketch the head of a dog. I also used the ellipse tool and the pen tool as well to create the paws and also the letter G to form the leg. So this is not actually how the G looks like. This is how the G looks like. Upon a second thought, I had this idea, which is to have it like this. So using the paws and also using the letter P to create something. So I had the idea for the name Pet Shop. So using the shape builder tool is what we actually need to learn. So let's create another artboard. So I switch to the layout studio and then I select this option. Instead of this, I want this, because this is going to create a duplicate of this. And then I grab my text tool. Let me check the spacing here. So the shortcut is you press and hold Alt on your keyboard, and you either use the forward button or the backwards button, so meaning the navigation keys. So when you press the forward, it opens the spacing, and then when you press the backward, that's the back arrow key, it closes the gap. Alright, so this is much better. Okay, so we have this, and also we are in the vector view mode, which is very important. If I switch here, this text looks pixelated, so we don't want that. So we switch to the vector view mode, and it's giving us sharp edges for the text. So this is the font I'm using, and I'm using the bold font style. First of all, I need to right click, and then I have this option here, convert to curves. So the moment I convert this text to curves, it creates a group for me. So it means this text is not a single text here, it's now a separated text. So I can move it to any position I want. I can rotate it to any angle I want. Since I have converted this text into curves, the next thing I will do is to select the group layer here, and then I right click and then I ungroup them. So I now have full control over it. It's not grouped. First of all, let me turn these two off. Let's move back to the first document. So this is the icon. Let me lock this one. Alright, so I drag to select everything like this, and then I copy it, and then I paste it here. So this is it. So I just overlap it like this, and then I increase the size a bit. Let me duplicate this one. So this is how the P looks like. It has an inner portion, but this one also has an inner portion. I don't need this, I just need this dark portion here. So I turn it off so that we can have this inner portion of the P when we apply the shape builder tool. Press and hold shift to increase the size, but before then, let me switch to the stroke, and then always make sure you have this box checked. If it's unchecked, when you scale up, it doesn't maintain the form or the weight of the whole composition. So it's very important to check this box here if you are scaling anything on your canvas. So we scale it up a bit. Select everything like this. In the Vector Studio, you see this option here, Shape Builder 2. So you select it. We have the plus and the minus. So the plus is for the positive and the minus is for the negative. If I want to create the negative space, what I need to do is to select the minus sign. So when I position it here, now the software is asking me which areas I don't want. I don't need this side, so I just click it. I don't also need this, and then I also don't need this portion. So I need this and I need everything here, so I'm done. This is how the Shape Builder 2 works. Let me change this color to this. Alright, so this is very simple and very easy to do. This is just the logo icon. I'm explaining to you how grids work when you are creating your logo design. The shortcut is to press and hold Ctrl and then apostrophe. This is the current grid I'm using for all the artworks. If you want to turn off the grid, the same procedure, Ctrl and apostrophe. Before you can apply the shortcut for the grid, you need to create it first. So if you want to create it, you select View, and then there's this option here, Grid and Axis. I've already created the grids, so I'm going to explain to you, but I'm just showing you the process here. So you select View and then you select Grid and Axis. So you see this pop up here, Grid and Snapping Axis. So what I'm currently using is Show Grid, and then I'm using the automatic, and then I'm using the same color here. You can change the colors if you want. You can change the colors to any color you want, and then you can link the grid colors. So if I click this, it's going to link these two together, meaning I can't change it. If I leave it without linked, I can easily change the colors. So let's close this and let's move to the very beginning. So let me activate the grid here. The reason why we use grids, especially for logo designs, you can use them for flyer designs as well, but especially for logo designs, is to help you to determine if your element for your logo is resting on the baseline. And I can see there's some changes with the grids. Let me check it. View and then Grid and Axis. So yes, I always work with the automatic. I switched to basic, so I need to switch back to automatic so you can tell the difference. Since we have the grids on our canvas, the next thing I'm showing you is the baseline. But before then, let me quickly group this text here. So I select everything like this, and then I right click, and then there's this option group, or better still, the shortcut is Ctrl-G on your keyboard. I intentionally decided to have some errors with the logo so that I can explain much details. This looks perfect, but it's not properly balanced. This is how the baseline works. I use the rectangle tool, and then I select a portion where I want the shape to be. So I know I want it to be in the center. So from this line to this side and to this side. So I draw a shape like this. You have to determine where you want it to start from and where you want it to end. So mine is this, and then let me turn this off. So let me properly center the shape. I select this and then align center. Okay, so it's properly aligned in the center. I select this group here, which is for this, and then I center this as well. So you see the changes. So it's now properly centered, and then I have this, which is also already centered. So when I zoom in, this is the baseline. So the baseline is actually where the text touches a line. All right, so take it as if you are writing in a book. You need to write on the line. This is touching the baseline, so you can see the text is touching the baseline perfectly, or let me say it's proportionally balanced. This is how you can use grids to check your alignment properly on the baseline. It's on the same line. The text is properly aligned in the center. So having this, we can then now export this logo as SVG. It's very important to export it as SVG, not PNG. Let me turn this off, and then let me select everything. So I already have this option here. If you don't see it, you just click here and then you select the file format you want just by turning it on and off. I have SVG, and then I click on export. I also stated earlier on that you can use grids for your flyer designs. Yes, so this is an example. I want to make sure every detail on this artwork is properly balanced on the baseline. Let me turn the background image off because the grid is black. You can't properly see it. So now you can properly see the grids. Let me change every writing here to black. Okay, I'm going to start with a new product, this text. So let me zoom in. You can see it's not on the baseline. This is the baseline. So I draw my shape starting from here to this end. I'm following the length of this text. If this text ends somewhere here, I'm just going to move this to this side. But you know, it's very long, so I move it to this side. So this is the safest way to guide you if you want to properly check if your text is properly aligned on your artworks. Let me change this color to this. Let me increase the stroke a bit. This needs to be on this baseline and this rather needs to be on this baseline. So I just select it and then I press and hold shift on my keyboard and then we drag it. So you can see it went above the baseline. So let's move it up a bit. Okay, so it's on the baseline. Okay, so it's on the baseline. When I zoom in, you can see we have another line here. So these are the subdivision lines inside the grid. And then let's do the same for this. And then this side needs to touch this line here. This is also not on a baseline. This needs to touch this. So we can move this down here. So you can see it's touching. So the top and the bottom. This is the baseline, but this is where this text is. So we move this down here. Alright, so with this text here, you can see it's not on a straight line. So let's have them on a straight line. Select this side and then change this value to 0. So I'll do the same for this. I change the value to 0. So we have them on a straight line. So when I zoom in, you can see we have an inner baseline. Then I reduce it like this. Move it slightly to touch the baseline. So we move it like this. Okay. So now it's perfectly balanced. So good meal for cats and dogs. And then we have our text. So when I zoom in, you can see another line. When I zoom out, it goes off. When I zoom in, it comes back. So we move it to touch the line. And then with this, it's not on the baseline. This is the baseline. So just as we did for the dogs, we are doing the same thing here. So we move it to touch the line like this. So now it's touching the line. The text is touching the line. I have activated the ruler option. We have the vertical and then we have the horizontal. I position my mouse pointer here and then I press and hold and then I drag it like this. So I start from where we have all the text and then I position the mouse pointer on this line and then I press and hold Ctrl. Instead of going here to drag again, I just use this shortcut. I press and hold Ctrl to make a duplicate and then I drag it like this to touch this side here. This logo needs to touch this line here. So I press and hold Shift on my keyboard and then I just move it like this. Alright. So yes, finally we have everything perfectly balanced. This brings us to the end of this video and I believe you've learned how to use the shape builder tool to create your logo design, and also how to use the grid option plus using the ruler option. If you found this video very helpful, don't forget to subscribe, smash that notification bell, like, share, and leave your comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't miss out.